Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Shannon Miller webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Risa from Pear Deck, and I will be doing just a little bit of moderating as we get started here. So I'm hoping right now that you can all see Shannon's screen. You should see the Pear Deck join prompt, and if you know anything about Pear Deck, you know that you can go to joinpd.com in a separate tab, and it'll prompt you to enter this 5-letter code that's on your screen. So again, if you want to join Shannon's presentation as a participant, just open up a new tab and go to joinpd.com and type in the 5-letter code. It looks like we've got 16, 17, 20 people joining. Don't feel obligated if you just want to follow along with Shannon's shared screen. But again, if you would like to participate in the Pear Deck and some of the interactivity, just head to joinpd.com and type in WYRVB, just like you see on your screen. We'll give you guys just another moment to do that, and then we'll get started in just a moment. Again, if you're just joining us and you want to join Shannon's presentation as a student or a participant, you can follow the instructions on this screen. Just go to joinpd.com in a separate tab and enter the 5-letter join code. And as you're joining, I would like to introduce our host, Shannon Miller. Shannon Miller is the Innovation Director of Instructional Technology and Library Media at Van Meter Community School in Van Meter, Iowa. She is also the Future Ready Librarians spokesperson, working with librarians, educators, and students around the world every day as an international speaker, consultant, and author who has a passion for education, librarianship, advocacy, technology, social media, and making a difference in the world and lives of others, especially children. Shannon brings a special expertise and vision to the conversations around school libraries, education, technology, creativity, and student voice. Shannon, if you're ready, please take it away. Oh, I forgot to tell you one thing. We're going to be doing a Q&A session at the end. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat as we go, and we'll collect those, and Shannon will address them at the end of her presentation.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
All good.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for that great introduction. It's just so fun to be able to connect with all of you. I've been keeping up, as we look on Facebook and Twitter, and just answering lots of emails and calls, and being able to connect is keeping us all going. And so this is another fun way too. And so I'm really excited to get to share just some ideas on how we as librarians can support students and families during remote learning. And this isn't just for remote learning, but this is really all the time as well. And I think one thing that comes out of all of this and the work that we're doing is how it is going to change education and the way that we look at things and how we connect, and just us as librarians and also as educators. And so I'm excited to share some things. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards as well. I'll give you my email at the end, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and at my blog, The Library Voice. And so today we're going to go over some things here, and we're going to first look at the role of teacher librarians during school closures. The next thing we're going to do is go over 5 ways that we can support students and families with remote learning. Number 3, I'm going to share some resources for remote or continuous learning, what we call it at our school in Iowa. And then at the end, we're going to have some time also for you to ask some questions. And so please feel free to add those too as we go. Now on this slide right here, what I would like you to do is to write your response. And it says, what is one thing that you hope to learn or take away from today? I would love to know too, how many of you, this is the first time using Pear Deck? That is one thing that I would love to know. I know that I have been helping my sister Heather, she's a librarian also in Iowa, and just answering questions from her and from other friends who really want to use Pear Deck. And so I would love to hear that too, but please take a moment to write down some responses on how you are using it or what you want to learn today. Maybe things that you have seen and you have questions about. Now, I will be super honest. Something was happening with my iPad before, and so if I was really presenting to you and I was in front of you and we weren't presenting online, I would show you my responses because I really want to see them, but I'm a little nervous because I haven't presented using this in a setting before like this. And so something was going a little wacky with my iPad before, but I can't wait to just look at some of those responses afterwards too, and I'll make sure that I post some of those as well. And so it's going to be fun to see some. Now, when we go to this next slide, this is a drawing slide, and you can draw where you live. You can even write words, which is really fun. You have your little T for text and you can draw on this slide. Kids love these slides because you can do so many different prompts. And so I do too. This one actually kind of reminds me of The Dot by Peter Reynolds, which I have hanging above my desk right now. And it's just fun to be able to see, you know, what your kids are drawing, and also just to see what they even write with their drawings as well. And so just take a couple minutes to finish up your drawing of where you live. I'll tell you where I am today. I'm in Iowa, of course, and we live in West Des Moines. It's kind of sunny and it's nice out just to be able to think about what is coming with this nice weather. Okay, well, thanks for trying those out, guys. Now, during this time together, we're going to have a tweet giveaway, and we're giving away some of the books that I wrote with Capstone Publishing. This one is Staying Safe Online, and it is actually a cantata book, and so it has music with it as well, and then just some fun, really neat Pear Deck swag. And so you can tag me either on Twitter, and you can tag me with that and either put in like Future Ready Lives or TL Chat or one of those hashtags that we use as librarians for a chance to win this book and win a little package. So that is pretty fun too. On this slide also, you can redeem instant access to Pear Deck Premium, which is amazing. We use Pear Deck a lot at our school. One of our all-time favorite tools. We're a TK-12 building. So we're using it with all of our kids on either iPads or their laptops and devices. And our teachers just love what it's brought to our school. And our kids, again, my son is a freshman, and seeing how they use it in classes like Spanish and English, and even our little ones using it for sight words and all kinds of things this year has been just so fun. And so this is something we've been getting our feet kind of on the ground the last month, as I know all of you have as well. And we are going to kick off actually a Pear Deck activity tomorrow. And so we're really excited to be able to start thinking about how we're going to use it. And I hope today that I'll also be able to share some of those ideas with you that you can take back and use them too in remote learning. And so you want to make sure that you grab that link right there. I'm also really excited because today we get to share for the very first time the new Shannon Miller template pack. And this is all around library media. I'm so excited to share some of these with you because there are slides that focus around reading prompts, Let's Take a Pebble Go Adventure, which I'm going to share, research prompts, and even using the Media Center. And so even though we're not in the library right now, I'll show you kind of towards the end how we could use that too. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the role of teacher librarians during school closures. And as we all know, this has been something that we have been dealing with for about a month now, probably within most of our towns, a little bit longer. Over spring break is when we started thinking about it. And this graphic is kind of cool. This is one that you can go to there. Everything that I talk about, there's a link in the slide, and we'll make sure that you get the slide so you have all of these resources. And so if you want to go to this and share it, this is something that is really interesting. But on that arrow up there, if you click it, it even shows just that time frame and everything that has happened around the world, which is really shocking. But to show, not only the school closures within our country, but also when we look at it globally, it's something that everybody is thinking about. Something that I found interesting last week is the little survey that AASL did, and they shared it just to get a snapshot of school librarian roles during school closures. This was posted yesterday on the AASL Knowledge Quest blog. There is a link also for this as well. But the statistics that they came out with, even though I think that it was around like 1,000, a little under 1,000 librarians who took this, but it was really interesting statistics to see some of the things that we're looking at. Things like how many people or how many kids, how many families have access to technology, and what kind of technology do they have access to, but also do they have access to internet, and how does that look? When we also think about the school library activities in response to closure, the things that we're doing, what does it look like in our community? What does it look like in our libraries? What did it look like when schools right before they closed? And this was something that I found really interesting. But one thing that I did like was how we are all expanding our online resources that are available to students. That's something that is over 80%. I was so excited to see that. Also, when we think about how we're assisting, how are we supporting our families? This is something that has probably some of the things that we've always done, but now things that we're doing even a little differently because of the way that we're remote now and how we're connecting with our kids and our families. In our community, we have been, like I said, a one-to-one school for about 12 years now, and we're a town of about 1,200 people. We have about 800 students in our school, all in one building, preschool through 12th grade. And we've done just amazing work the last month. I'm so proud of all of our teachers and all of our kids and all of our families, and just how our community really pulled together. But when we think about some of the things, not only how it affects learning, but how it affects a community, there's a lot of other things that we're thinking about. This is something that has affected all of us. It's something that we think about with our families as we're home and our communities. We had this great parade, which I'm sure a lot of you have done, and it was so great to see the kids and the families, but it was also really, a hard day too, to be able to see them. Another thing that we did, all of the Iowa schools last Friday turned on their lights in their football field 1 minute for each day that we were closed. But things like this really do bring our communities together. When we think about now how we're focusing on our families at home, this is my son Hagen, who is a freshman, and setting up his online school so he can go to school, a desk in his room or a cozy spot to sit in the kitchen. I'm glad he has a great big smile. It's something that we're all thinking about. Also, as we're planning and collaborating with our teachers, jumping into a Zoom a few times a week as a staff is something that's become regular, but it's also something that's really essential. And all throughout the day, this is my calendar actually of tomorrow. I think I have like 10 different Zooms or Google Meets with either kids sharing or teachers are reading, and it's changing. But I think that one thing when this all happened that I kept in the back of my mind is, even though it's changing, I wanted still for a lot of things to remain the same. Being able to share books, being able to connect with my kids, being able to read to them, and being able to put books into their hands and the teacher's hands. And even though we're not at school, I've still been able to share books, by keeping them like on my doorstep, ordering them and having them delivered to my house so our book clubs could get their books. And I think thinking of it just a little different, how we can even collaborate. I have a ton of books at home at my house, and I love sharing them with my teachers. I love sharing them with the kids if there's something that maybe I know would be a good fit and I have it. And I'm really thankful that I have a lot of books that I'm able to share because I want to make sure that I continue that. So when we think about different ways that we can support our students and our families, we already heard a few things, but I wanted to break it into these 5 categories just to kind of give us an overall arching thing of what we can do as teachers and as librarians within our district. Number 1 is to make connections with students and families in meaningful, special, and fun ways. We have 2 sites. They're called the Continuous Learning Site, and kind of the ironic thing is these used to serve as our library sites. And even though they were places that our community always went, it was something that when we knew we had to make sites for our continuous learning that was happening, I quickly made them into the places that our kids were going to go and our families were going to go to get to all the information that they needed. And so I wanted to make sure that I filled it with things that the kids thought were fun and special. I made sure that I shared a lot on our social media. We have a social media presence for both our library and our school. Our Facebook has become really, really important places. The first time that we kind of talked about what was happening and sharing with our families, we also made a statement that the Van Meter Library Voice Facebook page was going to be a place that we could share resources and share ideas and messages from our teachers and others. And so this has become kind of the hub of where we're sharing things. Also on my blog, The Library Voice, I share a lot of like resources and kind of step-by-step instructions for parents to go to get there. We're also sharing a lot, not just as I think us sharing things from the library, but how can we, like we always do, cultivate that community as a librarian within our district and our community. One thing that I did is my elementary principal, we started a Flipgrid for him, and he is amazing. There's a link actually to the video in the slide, and you guys have to watch it later. And he does this great announcement every morning and has the kids call out like, where are you from? And it's so fun, but it's something that we all miss. And so he does this every day. And so I grab it and then I put it on to our Facebook pages to make sure that we're cultivating that community like we've always done as librarians. We also started Flipgrids for every grade level and specials teacher, related arts teachers. And they're called the virtual vibes from the Van Meter teachers. And we keep them all in one nice, neat place. So then if you're a family that has 4 kids in different grade levels, you can go to one place and you can get to them. And so think about, again, how you're sharing that information, but how you're like cultivating that community spirit, especially during this time. Another thing that I do is share on our Instagram, and I share little books, I share ideas, I share things that they can go to and print out, anything that I think would be a great place to just make a meaningful learning and reading connection. I make sure to share it. We have a lot of book clubs that go on throughout the year, and we continued our book clubs. We even picked up an extra book club in our 5th grade. And so we now have 4 going on right now. And again, like I said, I ordered the books, I put them on my step. Our teacher came and got them. She even delivered them to the kids. And it was great to be able to continue on with these. When we met with our 5th graders, we wanted to give them a choice still because we talk a lot about choice and what they want to read. And so I made a Padlet. I put on 5 choices that I thought they would like from kind of what they shared on what kind of book they wanted. And then when we had our Zoom call, they were able to watch these videos together and read about the books. And then I talked about it on Twitter, and both of the authors, we chose A Time Traveler's Theory and Song for a Whale. And both of the authors saw on Twitter that we were talking about it, and we Skyped with them last week to kick off our book clubs. And so right now, one thing I always tell people this, like, don't be afraid to reach out to authors and illustrators and publishers. And there is no time in the present to do this, because they also are at home hanging out, wanting to connect with all of us. And so it was so great to be able to connect with Lynn and Nicole, and we're even going to connect with them as the kids go in their reading groups too. But when we think about how we're doing reading clubs and book clubs, I know that there's been a lot of questions on how this is changing. Maybe you can't get books into the hands of the kids, but there's all kinds of places that there are free books right now, from publishers, from different sites like Follett and Capstone. And so be creative about how you're doing these book clubs, how you're getting them started again. One of the slides that I'm really excited about in the new Pear Deck for librarians is the book club one. And we have our book clubs on Thursday, and we plan on doing this with them. We want to kind of get them not only, you know, where we can see them on a Zoom or a Google Meet, but we want them to really think about what they're reading. Now, another thing that's really fun in making connections in meaningful and special ways are the weekly wonders from Pear Deck. And we love these because what it does is it gives us 3 sets of template, one for elementary, middle, and high school. And they are all built around these great 3 different, like, awe-inspiring content. And so they always find really good I think, like, videos and questions and articles that they build these around. This one that I looked at today, and I shared this actually last week with some of our kids, is called Anticipate Awesome Creative Kids. And so when you go into this pack, then you're able to see and read about what it focuses on. The elementary and the middle and high school, like I said, are different, and they even focus on, in this one, like a boy who is 9 in the elementary and a teenager in the high school one. And as you can see at the bottom, it even gives you the source of where that clip is from, YouTube. The one I chose was high school, and I listened to this great video from this teen artist who was so inspiring. And then I went to the Pear Deck, and you can then choose which ones you want to use from the Pear Deck, from the templates. And you can then do it just like we're doing it now. Start a lesson with your kids and have them interact and think about some of the things that they learned. And so, like this slide, what are some things that you throw away that could be used for something new? And it's really neat because we can then interact and get them thinking and wondering about something as well. With these student-paced activities, I wanted to put this in here because this is a great place to go to just read more about how you can let Pear Deck really get that engagement going with your kids, even with remote learning. And so there is this great video that you can watch on how to teach a remote lesson with Pear Deck, and it is very easy and very fun to be able to do. Now, with all these ways to connect, you need to always remember what it means to our students and families. When I look at these pictures and I think, and I look at my schedule on how busy I am, it is a lot of work and it takes a lot of organizing. Just like we're always busy at school, I always say I feel like the cruise director at school because I'm always busy doing different things. But when we look at these pictures and we look at their faces and we see things like this that parents are posting on Twitter and Facebook, we know that it's all worth it, right? And so they really care about us making those connections. And to our teachers and administrators and others, it means the world to them too. This is one that I had posted, and Megan Allgreen, who is the 5th grade teacher that I do the book clubs with, she reposted this and put the little Bitmoji of Dream Team, which I thought was perfect. And so we know that these things mean the world to everybody and all of the work that we're putting into it. The next one is grow your virtual library in a place for learning for all of your students and families. Like I said, our library websites became the place that we were going for continuous learning, but they also still hold all of our digital reading and learning our resources. Things like our Destiny Library. The kids can still go there, they can find the ebooks, they can even find books that they want to read or that they've written reviews about before. They can also get into collections that we've made, and this isn't something that's new to them, which I think is a really important thing to remember, is that we want to direct them to the places that they have been going so they can feel confident and they can show their families how to get there and how to use these resources. So all of these places online that they're reading are places that we have on their Symbaloo, places that we have in our library that they've been to throughout the year. We also, right now, we have a chance to, and everyone does, to sign up to get the Lightbox Interactive eBooks. This is a deal from Follett, which is amazing because my kids are loving these. And we've had a few in the past, but now we have over 1,000 that we can look at, which is so great. And so right on that page, I just put a little screenshot and I made sure that my kids knew how to get there and how to find them, and my teachers did as well. Now in Destiny, remember that you can get then to your collections from there, but our collections also sit in those digital resources, and our teachers and our kids and our families are used to using these because we use these for sharing resources and we use them for research, and the kids even use them to curate their own things throughout the year. This is, though, a new collection set that I made all around continuous learning resources. These are also public, so all of you can use them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use them as well. And all of the resources in there are free. And so there's nothing that is specific to our library at Van Meter. These are all things that we can use. And the same thing with this digital tools, apps, resources, and ideas collection set. The same thing there too. If there is a company that maybe they have free right now and you have to sign up, I made sure to put that information in there too. So you'll be able to get to that. One thing today that I love seeing, that Time for Kids is now free. And so you can sign up at this link to get it free as well. I love this. And the one that they had around the coronavirus was really interesting. And so you can even sign up, like specifically teachers can, for the grade level, and then they get that information there as well. I wanted to put this in here too, just to remind us to share these things too with families, because something like Time for Kids or Capstone Interactive, it doesn't have to be even a teacher that signs up. It can even be a family member that signs up and gets access to. And so Time for Kids, when I saw this today, I even put it then out there on our Facebook page so parents could sign up for that as well. Now, kind of in this category, I wanted to put in some of the slides that are new today. These are using the Media Center. And I thought it'd be so fun if you were like connecting or teaching an online lesson about library, you could ask this question: how can you find a book online in our virtual library? And then kids could write, or you could even add it that they could even draw their response on here too. And so this could become a great way just to have that interaction when you're teaching a lesson as well, or maybe even just popping in for a library read aloud to the kids too. Now, this is when I think about all of the books that I'm sharing and things like that. I, again, make sure that I'm sharing it on our Facebook and just sharing those ideas so parents can see that too. And they can think creatively too, how they can get books into the hands of their kids. Number 3 is to support students and families with resource technology and learning needs. When we look at our website, both of them for secondary and elementary, there's also a page on here that has all of the digital tools and apps and resources that we use. Now, like I said earlier, we haven't added a lot that we haven't used in the past, maybe 1 or 2 so far that are new, but all of these are things that we have used, things that sit on our Symbaloos and that our kids are used to using, even from our little ones in TK. Things like Buncee and Pear Deck and Flipgrid, and places that they can go to research. And so they're used to seeing these, but we want to make sure too that we're giving them the support when they're using these. Padlet is a great one. The one on the left, this is one for our freshmen are doing a project, and the teachers asked if I would bring together some resources for them. And so I brought them together just in a Padlet. And the green one is one of our fourth grade boys was working on his wax museum, and his parents reached out and he was having a little troubles with researching Nile Kinnick. And so I pulled together some resources just on a Padlet, which made it really easy. Another place that I love to use for curation is Wakelet. This is a Wakelet, and there's a link in the Wakelet that will also take you to books around the Holocaust for the book club. And so it's nice for kids to be able to connect with what they're reading too. It's never been more important also to have a place that you can share all of the logins and passwords that they're using. We have it just in a Google Doc. It's something that then the teachers and the students and the families can get to everything in this Google Doc that is needed for logging in and the password. So there's no excuses that they can't find the place to log in. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you are probably part of related arts, and this is the case too at our school, that library. My partner, Jessica, she teaches the library fixed time for related arts, along with art and music and social emotional learning. And it's just been really fun to see the things that they have been putting together, so then our kids can even connect with some of these things that they're doing in related arts. One fun thing that I did with my music teacher this week was taught her how to make some choice boards. And so when our kids go to this site, we put together these choice boards just in a Google slide. And when the kids then click on the black boxes, it takes them to fun places to go all around music. And so I put links in here so you could get to them. And it's been really fun to see some of the other choice boards that people are making. Somebody shared one today about poetry, and I think there was one about Pebble Go. And so it's been really fun to see some of those too. Now, another way that we can support are making like screencasts. And so if we have something that we want to teach that is brand new, Screencastify is probably my favorite tool to use. I also love using the new screencasting tool in Flipgrid. Screencastify right now is offering free premium. There is a link in this slide that you can go to get to that. And then if you use Flipgrid, that one is totally free, but it's really nice to be able to make those and then share it as well. Pear Deck has put together a great place to go for resources for remote learning. And this has so much great information that they have put together, not just about the way that we can use things like maybe the weekly wonders or flashcard factory or whatever it might be. It's really neat to be able to go here just to read about teaching remotely too. And they've been doing so many great webinars that those are also located there. And I've learned so much just by watching those. So you'll have to check that out too. Number 4 is cultivate your reading culture in unique and fun ways. And I already talked about how to grow your virtual library, but when we're making sure that we're marketing the things that we're putting together, we want to make sure that we're also cultivating that reading culture, that they're sharing things, if it's on an email or if it's through social media, or maybe it's a little video, or you're asking to be part of a letter that your teachers put out. But anything that we can do to constantly be sharing and cultivating that reading culture, even in this remote learning that we're doing right now within our communities. I share things, like I said, all the time on our Facebook page. And one thing that I really miss is not only being able to share some of those fun read alouds, or like an illustrator like Mo Williams being able to connect, but I miss just reading to my kids. And one thing that I do throughout the year are pop-in story times. And I wanted to continue these pop-in story times. And so I decided to make them virtual pop-in story times where I am visiting the classrooms when they are connecting. And it's been such a fun way for me to be able to share just that love of reading and the books. And the kids know that I love sharing all the books that I find. But this is a picture of our second graders, and the teacher posted this, Tracy Ferguson. It, again, means the world to kids when you take time to do that too. Now, this is where you could use some reading prompts and some of the slides that were put together in the library and media deck. something like this where it allows you to write the response. And so right now you can see on your slide that you could share your favorite book. How does this book make you feel? It's a great way to be able to reach out to your kids, but also kind of check in with them too. And this slide, they could draw on this. What does an author do and who is your favorite author? And this one also is for illustrators. What does an illustrator do and who is your favorite one? I love that one too. Now, this is another program that we do. You've been booked at our school, and you've been booked is something that we started last year, and you put bags in these books and we put the posters up, and then we pass the books all around the school, and the kids love it. And again, it broke my heart that we couldn't continue this. But because we have so many great resources that are available now, free books and databases, things that our publishers have put out there, we can make things like this possible. I went to the free resources that PebbleGo has, and I wanted to use the eBooks in Capstone Interactive to make these You've Been Virtually Booked posters that I've been making in Buncee. When you go to these posters, you will find the links in these slides. When you share them with kids, all they have to do is click on the book cover to be able to go directly then to that book and read it online. And so it's really been fun for kids to be able to share these with their families, read them by themselves. And it's something that parents too can point them to when they want them to read and be able to find something that maybe they even read afterwards too by being in Capstone Interactive. I also put together just a template, and so you feel free to use this, and Buncee is also free right now, so you can get there and make your own. But also, think about making them to specifically maybe about a different genre, or like poetry or Earth Day, something that is special coming up, I think would be really fun as well. Today I even took that, and every week I've been making one, and I made just a little virtual newsletter to share. I also made this in Buncee. So when I put it on Facebook today, I also had a video that I embedded right in Buncee, and it's really easy to be able to record that and have it be part of your Buncee newsletter, so then you can put it up on Facebook and you can promote what you're doing as well. In Buncee, if you've never used Buncee before, the Buncee boards are awesome. On this Buncee board, you'll find all 3 weeks. And again, feel free to use these and make changes as well. Something that I am working on this week are also some virtual Look What I Am Reading posters. And this is something that we also did last year, just took our Bitmojis and I made little posters in Canva for all of the teachers on what they were reading. I also made them interactive by adding the Flipgrid AR QR code, and when they would scan that, it would go into just a little video, like a book review. You can still do this virtually. And so last night I made some posters, just some ideas. I'm going to blog about this later today. But think about how you could make, put a little fun twist on it, even share it with kids to be able to do this idea on what they're reading at home, what they're reading digitally, what they're reading outside. And it's so much fun to be able to, just have fun with those Bitmojis, but even real photos too. The 2 photos of my niece, Riley, what she did is sent me a picture. I used the background remover. It's called removebg.com. I'll write about that in my blog post, and super easy to make those. Now, the last one is to create and share lots of unique and amazing experiences for your students and teachers. Again, something that I love from Newsela are the daily decks. This is something that our teachers have been sharing in Google Classroom. They've been doing these weekly with their classes, and the kids have done these all through the year too, but they absolutely love them because there's really great topics that are interesting. It is tied to Newsela, and so when you go to this, they can read then the article in Newsela according to their reading level, which you find on the right-hand side. And Newsela is actually another one right now that is free for everyone to use. And then you can open it up and you can use then the daily deck. You could use the slides that you wanted, even add more slides. But again, this is something that's really easy just to share in Google Classroom, and then you're able to have the kids do it at their own pace then for something, an activity to do either every day or even choose just a couple that they do each week. We're also doing this where we're making sure that we have some experiences kind of wrapped around that kids can do. Some of our kids have parents that are working a lot. Maybe they even have to work still outside their home. A lot of our parents want activities that gives kids something to do outside. And so we're thinking about a lot of things that we can do and how can we kind of cultivate some of those experiences. One thing that we did last week is started a Padlet. A lot of people were sharing pictures of where their kids were reading. And so I started a Padlet and put it on our Facebook page and shared it with also just them through Google Classroom. And kids then can share where they're reading outside. And so this is something that I hope really grows, especially as the weather gets nicer. Now, a couple slides that you could use too, kind of to tie into that, and this would be a great activity because kids then could even share those pictures, is on this slide, it says, where is your favorite place to read? Now, even though we're using these for remote learning, remember when we get back into school, like think about using these in the media center or when you're visiting a classroom or sharing something special for a reading event. These are going to be perfect. Another fun thing are these Pebble Go adventures, and these are something that I've been working on with Capstone. We're up to week number 4 now. Pebble Go is also free and Pebble Go Next, and so you can get to all of the databases now, and even parents can sign up. But once you get that username and password, you can share that with everybody within your district, within your school. And you can get to then these Pebble Go adventures that go along with Pebble Go questions that are right on their website. And so I really wanted there to be some slides too that we could use for this in Pear Deck. And so I'm so excited about these Pebble Go adventure ones because we could pair these up and have the kids then draw on this slide or even write on this slide what you learned in today's Pebble Go adventure. So I think these are perfect and they're going to be so fun, not just again for when we're at home, but also when we get back to school. So I put a link in here so it'd be really easy for you to be able to find these resources and also where to sign up for Pebble Go. Also the research prompts, this is a great place to talk about those too when we're talking about Pebble Go, not just for our little ones, but think about these for our middle and high school age kids too. My son is working on the research project right now. The Padlet that I shared, they are researching the Spanish flu and COVID-19. And so this is going to be perfect for them to be able to use these research topics on what they're searching for and keywords and even what they're learning. And so I think those will be really perfect. Another thing that I think about just as librarians and what we do, again, not only through remote learning, but at school and collaborating with teachers, is how we really emphasize critical thinking. And when you go into Pear Deck, this is one of the decks that I love. And these critical thinking ones really help kids kind of think about what they're wondering and what they're thinking, even considering like different viewpoints and making connections. And so these are a great place to also pull in when we're talking about research and talking about critical thinking as librarians. And so you'll have to look for those too. Another thing that's been really fun to see are all these virtual field trips. And we use these a lot. We use a lot of augmented and virtual reality at Van Meter, but these have been really fun because we can go anywhere and you don't need special equipment either to use these because all of them can be viewed either on a computer or also on a device. And tons of online read alouds, thank goodness, from all of the authors and illustrators and publishers that we love. And so I've just been adding more and more to this. Also in this collection, you'll find the great lists that people have been sharing too. And so you'll have to check that out because our kids, they love it when I share these. Yesterday, I was so excited to see that Cece Bell was reading El Defo online. And so it was so fun to be able to share that. And our kids just were thrilled. I also have something to share next week, maybe even by Friday, we'll share this. We have a virtual Poem in Your Pocket event with capstone authors. For Poem in Your Pocket on April 30th, it's going to be so much fun, and it's going to be something that any of us can view and participate. And I'm excited because there are a few slides too that you can use for Pear Deck, and you can think about the poems and really get your kids thinking about that poem that they're going to get ready to share with others on April 30th. And so you can use those slides too. I was also excited yesterday to see that Children's Book Week is actually going to be virtual. And so this is one of our favorite weeks to celebrate. It's May 4th through the 10th this year. And they have put together lots of great information and resources that we can share with our families and our kids. And so what a great event. Oh, and I wanted to put this in here because these coloring pages were really fun, but this is also a collection that's been a big hit in our school during this time, just different places that they can go either to print off a coloring page or even color online too. So when we talk about resources and we think about all that we need for remote or continuous learning, as we call it in Van Meter, there's lots of places to go and it gets a little overwhelming. I know that, and I've been trying to really stay focused myself, and again, going to the places that I've already been to and that I know are going to be great and reliable. But one thing that I've loved is just really spending time every day on the Future Ready Librarians Facebook page. If you do not belong to it already, please join us. It's just this amazing community of constantly sharing great things, and I learn so much every day and just feel so inspired by all of you, the things that we're sharing and just that support that we're giving each other. This Padlet too is a place that we're collecting things that you're doing. And so all the great things that you are creating and sharing and putting out there, please share it. This is something that last week we started a new blog series, the Alliance and with Future Ready Librarians, and we're going to be highlighting all of the great things that librarians are doing and kind of breaking it down into each part of our Future Ready Librarian framework. And so we'll kick it off just by doing one kind of wedge at a time. And I'm excited about these because these ideas are just awesome, but also things that, again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can use them for our own communities as well. And this is another Padlet of just resources. I love Padlet because, as you know, you can keep it public, and so everybody can curate things together and gather resources. This is just a little part of it. It actually goes on and has quite a few columns, but please take a look and feel free to add to it. And also, again, all of these collections put together and ones that other people have done too, even if you don't use collections or you don't use Destiny, these are all public, and so we can all get to them. And if you want to collaborate or if you have other things that you would like to add to them, please let me know and I'll add you as a collaborator. I would absolutely love that. Last week I did a couple webinars too that I just wanted to mention because the recordings and the resources are now live and up. And these were great because I did one with my friend and teaching partner, Tracy Ferguson, who I do tons of collaboration with. And we did one about how librarians can support teachers. And then I did one just about taking care of yourself, which was really healing and good for me to reflect on a lot of things too, just taking care of ourselves and our family. And so I hope you check those out too. Follett came out with this great list today as well. I just saw this right before the webinar, so I wanted to throw it in here, a list of publisher digital resources. And this is awesome. It's probably about 5 pages, but I love that they have just put it together nice and neatly curated and things that all of the publishers are sharing with us. And so all the online guides, if there's a free way to log in to maybe their database of ebooks, you can find it there, which is really great. Now, when you're thinking about using Pear Deck, and again, just being able to stay connected in remote learning, you can check out this. They've done just such a good job of bringing things together, these resources that I just really appreciate being able to find them. The teaching tolerance one is awesome. They have lots of great information on there, but these articles are good for not only us to read, but also to share with others as well. I also wanted to share before we ended and wrapped up, just again, the link to be able to get to the library media templates. You can get to them there and make a copy of that. And it's just really fun to be able to see those. And we're going to be able to make some changes to those too. And I'm excited to use them when we get back in school as well. And also, I wanted to mention where to find the social emotional learning templates, because these are some that are really perfect for right now when we meet with our kids, or maybe we can suggest these to our teachers when they're having their meetings. Being able to talk about the feelings that kids are having, I think, are just so important. But a slide like this and getting kids, not just our little ones, but even our older ones too, getting them thinking about how they're feeling and checking in with them in kind of an interactive, neat way would be really fun. So you can get to those too. So I know we shared a lot of things today, but make sure that you go back to the slides and we'll share those with you, because there are links in each one of those that go to the resources. And I know we have time for a few questions, and then I would love it if you guys, if you have more questions, just share them with me and make sure that you reach out too. So we'll take some questions.
Okay, we have so many good ones, and then we have time for just a few. So let's start at the top here. The first question for you, Shannon, is what are the most important skills we need to teach in this crisis? And what is the best way to reach students and engage them when everything is so uncertain?
Well, I think the first thing that we just need to focus on are relationships. I think that that's one thing as librarians that we can really foster and make sure that we're helping with, because of the way that we can bring reading, or maybe a fun connection or some support to families, and also to help our teachers realize that we're there for them and that we can support them, but making sure too that we all focus on ourselves and that relationship that we can have with kids. I think that that's one thing that we do really awesome. It's one of our best qualities as librarians within schools, are the relationships that we have with all the kids and all the families within our district. And so more than ever, we need to do that and really focus on that top priority of it. And that's why I spend so much time, every day, just making sure that even if it's just a little something on Facebook, or a little thing on Instagram, or reaching out to someone, or answering a question of a kid. But I think focusing on those skills right now and those things is what is most important, not just to our kids and our teachers, but to us too as librarians.
So wise. The next question we have is kind of about equity and online access. This person said, do you have print copies that go along with online lessons? We have several students who do not have internet access. What do you recommend, Shannon?
Yes, if we had, and we're a small, obviously a small community, and so our kids are pretty lucky, and we're pretty lucky because we are in a small community, but we have kids also, it's a rural community in Iowa. And so we have kids that we needed to provide, maybe they have two parents at home working and they have multiple siblings at home. And so we also then would provide, paper copies or packets or whatever they needed to go along with their work, or to make sure that they were able to, complete it and have things that they could work on too. And so our teachers, they either drop them off at like their house, or the parents came and got them, and we handed out laptops. Also, our elementary is not one-to-one, where they take them home. We're one-to-one at school. And so we had just a form that our families could fill out that also asked them about even having internet access. And so from that, we knew how we could help provide or find that access, for them to have too. And then they're also welcome to come up and like park in the parking lot if they need access to use it to online as well. So there's kind of different ways to do it, but it's been really interesting to see, what people are doing, what different districts are doing. There was an article today about Austin ISD, and they're having like something like 100 and I don't know, something 10 or some number buses go out with internet access to communities, so then kids would have access at home. And so I love how everybody's being really creative about that too, making sure that kids have, access not only to supports, but also, to the internet or to technology too.
Okay, looks like we have time for maybe just a couple short ones here, and then we'll wrap up if that sounds okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. So this person wanted to know if there's a list of authors, if you can provide a list of authors that they can reach out to for virtual visits. Is that something they can find on your blog?
So number one advice, reach out to anybody. Like I don't really have a master list of where I go. Kate Messner has a great list of authors and illustrators on her website. And I will post a slide to that, like kind of by the authors, but there's Kate Messner has in that collection I shared of online places like for authors and illustrators to connect. Kate Messner's site is in there. It's just like a different page, I think, that's just going to kind of this time maybe to her YouTube channel. But if I have an author that I want to connect with my kids, I just reach out to them. I first start on Twitter, see if they're on Twitter or Instagram, because I actually like have lots of authors that I talk to just in Instagram. Otherwise, look on their website. They usually have a form to fill out or even an email. But that has been like my best way of connecting with authors is just by reaching out if there is somebody, or even posting things. Like when I posted the pictures on Instagram of our book club, I tagged the authors in it. They saw it and then they said, oh, thank you, for reading. And then I wrote back and said, like, I would love to connect, like the kids would love it. And so just being really like genuine and not being afraid to like post things and tag them in it because they love it. A long time ago, my good friend Michael Buckley told me, like, we were in this presentation together and he was talking to me and he said, I'm on Twitter because I want to be, not because I have to be. And they want to connect with all of us. And that's why they're there. So make those connections.
All right, last one. And I think this is the question that we all have, just burning question here, Shannon. How do you stay on top of all the technology tools and stay connected and read all in a 24-hour day? Do you have tips for anybody?
I don't get a lot of sleep. And I think right now it's like, I'm glad to be busy and I'm glad to love all of this because it's really keeping my mind off of everything too. But I do a lot of reading on, I kind of catch up every day, like on Twitter and Facebook, but I don't spend a ton of time there a day. I have a few blogs that I follow that I love to read that I kind of keep up on, but really just kind of, and I said this a few times, like, don't get overwhelmed with too many things. Like there is so much out there, especially right now. Every company has a free site. Every publisher has a place we can go to read for free. And pick a couple things, one thing to start that is new, like all the things you've learned today and seen today on Pear Deck, and get really good at it. And that's how I always do things throughout the year, not just during this time. But you can't pick up like a bazillion things that are new and do them. And so I always, kind of keep that in the back of my mind, that it'd be really easy for me right now to get sucked into using a lot of new tools. But I try to be really, really smart about that and just do a few new things at a time. But yeah, it gets a little overwhelming. And then the reading part, I wish I had tons of time to read. But one reason I love reading too to all the kids and like the You've Been Book thing is it's a way for me to read a lot of the new books that I have been wanting to read. And so it's kind of like a creative, fun way of doing things that you really want to do to be able to share too with your kids.
That's really great advice. Thank you for making it seem human and manageable.
You're welcome.
Well, I know there are a lot of questions that we didn't get to, so I just want to encourage everyone, if you didn't get your question answered, if it's a question specifically for Shannon, you can connect with her on Twitter at Shannon M. Miller. So there's 2 M's in there. Some of you were asking in the chat. Again, you can find her on Twitter at Shannon M. Miller. For those of you who had questions about Pear Deck that didn't get answered, you can find us on Twitter as well at Pear Deck, all one word. Or if you have trouble with the calendar invite, you can send us an email at help@peardeck.com, and we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions there. All of you that joined today, will be sharing slides, recording, and the template pack that Shannon shared in a follow-up email tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that email. And again, if you had a challenge with registration and you're worried that you're not going to get that follow-up email, just send us a note at help@peardeck.com. Shannon, we just cannot thank you enough for giving your time today. Clearly, you're doing 5,000 things, so thank you for the hour that you spent with us. That is a rich collection of resources. And I just also want to thank all of the educators that joined us today. You are the ones on the front lines and doing all this hard work with students. We know that this is a huge lift, and for many of you, you are learning brand new things on the fly. So thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate you, and we hope you'll join us for our next webinar. Take care.